Hi friends, hope you're doing well. My name is Saajid. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back outside. A lot of y'all told me that you really like the outside videos, so inside is kind of noisy right now, so I thought that I would come back outside. Today we will be doing the POC creator tag. This was created by Yumi the Book Demon, and I was tagged to do this by the lovely Marissa from Little Spider 9. Speaking of spiders, not seeing any right now. Y'all, the dead spider lizard poop thing is still there. I should really clean my windows. Anyways, we'll be doing the POC creator tag, and I'm just going to hop straight into the questions. So the first question is, what ethnicity/race do you identify as, and do you identify as intersectional? I don't really identify as intersectional. I don't know of people who identify as intersectional. I don't know exactly like what that means in the context of this sentence. I know intersectionality to be like, you know, the multiple categories that we occupy and the way that they intersect to create unique experiences and implicate us in systems of oppression and structures and all that kind of stuff. Read Kimberly Crenshaw. She'll explain it better than I can. I mean, I guess in that sense, everybody is intersectional, so yes, I'm intersectional, but I wouldn't like identify as intersectional. As for my race and ethnicity, I'm Indo-Caribbean, so I'm from the Caribbean and I'm of Indian descent, South Asian descent. I'm a descendant of Indian indentured laborers who left India in the 1800s to come to the Caribbean to essentially replace slave labor and work as indentured laborers. So that's what I feel like people get really confused when it comes to my ethnicity on this platform, because I've gotten some really interesting comments that suggest that people think that I might be like Latino or Arab or something, which is very interesting. I don't blame people for being confused, because I'm literally a South Asian with an Arabic name from an English-speaking Caribbean island called Trinidad, which is a Spanish word. I get the confusion, but Google Indo-Caribbean, it'll help. Interestingly though, I don't really use the term person of color to identify myself. I mean, it's not that I don't see myself as a person of color, but it's just that in Trinidad, we don't use that term, people of color. It's just not really a useful term in our context, because most people in Trinidad are people of color. So like, it's more of a useful context, I guess, in places where there's like a white majority, and you kind of have to differentiate the white majority from the ethnic minorities, I guess. But I'm not an ethnic minority. I'm in a country where everybody's a person of color, except for like the 5 white people we have living on the island. So yeah, interestingly enough, I just never really grew up using that term, POC. I only use it like within the context of the book community, because that's the only place where it kind of like makes sense for me to use it. But that term is very problematic. I mean, it's not futile. I think, you know, it's a useful term and we should continue to use it, but it's not the most accurate and best term for many reasons that would require its own video. Anyways, on to the second question. It is, tell us something you love about yourself. Definitely not my acne scars. I don't know what I like about myself. I just, you know, I think, I'm very empathetic. You know, I feel people's, well, I don't really feel people's pain, because that's impossible, but like, you know, I empathize with people a lot. I'm not the kind of person to just like assume the worst of people. Like, I've grown up around so many people who always jump to conclusions about people around them and like vilify people for no reason. I always feel like I'm the one person who kind of always sees like the good in people, so that's something that I think I like about myself. I'd like to think that I'm reasonable and that I'm, you know, nice. I feel like y'all agree with me. Y'all like me too. The next question is, how long have you been in the book community? And this depends on what being in the book community means. If it means making videos, I've been making videos since 2015, June 2015. So I've been doing this for 5 years. But I discovered BookTube a year before that, so like in July of 2014. And that was around the time I actually started reading in period, for fun. Like, I could have read before that, but you know, like, I was literate before, but like, I only started reading for fun as a hobby in July of 2014. And the reason for that is I went to like this like fundraiser, this Muslim children's orphanage home. They was having this fundraiser, and I saw these Nancy Drew books for sale, and they were like selling for really cheap, so I bought them. I bought like 4, and I was like, I'll try them out to see if I like this reading thing. And I was like, oh shit, this is kind of fun. I like this reading thing. So that's how I got into reading, and then I started to do research to look into like more reviews for different books that I want to read, and that's how I ended up stumbling across BookTube. and the rest is history. Number 4 is what kind of content do you create? And please tell us if you create anything outside of BookTube. I don't create anything outside of BookTube. All I create is BookTube content, and on this channel you will find, you know, reviews, wrap-ups, you know, I try to do reading vlogs sometimes, I always fail at them. You'll get whatever I give you. You know, that's what I create. Period. Number 5 is what is your favorite genre? And I would say my favorite genre right now is definitely like adult literary fiction or high market fiction. I mean, I don't know what to call it because it's just such a broad category of books. But yeah, that's kind of what I gravitate towards, especially stories written by authors of color, which I will talk about in a second. Number 6 is what are your top 3 favorite books? This was a really hard one for me, so I ended up just picking 3 random books that I wouldn't say like definitively they're my top 3, but like I picked like an old favorite, a recent favorite, and a favorite that kind of fell somewhere in between, so let me show you now. The old favorite is a book that I always claim is my favorite book of all time, and I haven't read it since I first read it back in 2016, so I think I'm due for a reread before I continue to proclaim it as that, and that is A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ozeki. This is a really, really interesting and very compelling and just wonderfully written story about a woman who finds a diary of a young girl and begins to read that diary, and you're reading the story of the woman reading the diary, but you're also reading the diary along with her, and it is perfection. I really, really need to reread this book. My most recent favorite is one you've probably heard me talk about a million times already, and that is Valmiki's Daughter by Shani Mutu. And the reason why I like this book is because it's set here in Trinidad, and it deals with a lot of things that are just very close to my heart. I love the way that Shani Mutu writes. I love the way that she addresses the complexity of queerness within the context of Indo-Caribbean family and how that affects their lives, how it shapes their lives. It's just fantastic, and I'm currently reading another book by her right now, and I think she's definitely going to become like one of my new like favorite auto-buy authors because I just really, really enjoy her stories. And then a fairly not so recent but not that old book that I read I think back in 2018 that I love, and that was my personality trait for a good few months, was A Very Large Expanse of Sea by Tahira Mafi, which is just a brilliant story that is set a year 9 after 9/11 and follows a Muslim girl who is dealing with Islamophobia, and it's so good. So freaking good. I know a lot of people have issues with this book. It's definitely not perfect, but I read it at the right time and it did everything I needed it to do for me, and it was great. So yeah, those are my 3 books that if I had to pick 3, like if you put a bullet to my head, those are the 3 that I'd pick. The next question is tell us about your favorite POC authors. Tell us about some indie published POC authors. I can't really tell you anything about indie authors because I don't really read indie authors. As for like POC authors, this is a difficult question for me to answer because most of the authors that I read are authors of color, so there's no like one exceptional author out of that. And of all the authors that I've read, because I'm now kind of exploring a lot of these books and a lot of these authors for the first time, I haven't read like much from one particular author to say, oh yeah, this is definitely like my favorite, like these are like my top 5 favorite authors, because it's like I really enjoyed that one book that I read from Shani Mutu. I really enjoyed that one book that I read from Ruth Ozeki. I really enjoyed that one book that I read from Nicole Dennis Ben or whoever. But it's like I can't like say anything definitive about them as authors until I read like their entire collection. So I really need to read a lot more before I could answer a question like this. And even then, it would still be difficult because the majority of authors that I read are authors of color. Asking me who my favorite authors of color are is like asking me who my favorite authors are, because I read authors of color almost exclusively, period. You know, so where can we find you outside of YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, personal websites, etc.? You could find me on Twitter. I know in my last video I said that I gave up on Twitter. I kind of backtracked on that a little bit. I was like 99% sure that I was ready to deactivate my Twitter permanently, but then I didn't have the heart to do it. I really didn't have the heart to do it because I've made so many connections on there. I follow so many people follow me, so many cool people, authors. I just don't want to sever those connections, and I do know that I will eventually one day return to Twitter. So I figured for me personally, the best thing to do would be to just reactivate, but just don't go online. And that period in which I was deactivated really did a lot for me to kind of break the habit of going on Twitter. So I don't necessarily think that now that I've reactivated, Twitter will become a distraction again, because I reactivated a few days ago and I have not been online since then. I was just like, hey, I'm back, but I'm not really back. peace. So if I do get distracted or if I do feel like Twitter is unhealthy again, I'll just deactivate again. I could deactivate and reactivate and log off and log on and delete the app. It's my choice, whatever I decide to do eventually. So yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Musaho Books, but I think I privated it, so I mightn't really be able to accept your request for a while, but I mean, you could still send a request and eventually I might. You could also find me on Instagram, again, also at Musaho Books, Bookstagram, because I do Bookstagram. I like Bookstagram. I mean, I'm not like a bookstagrammer, like, with a capital B, but I think my content is cute, so, check me out, follow me, yeah. And other than BookTube, that's really the only other place that you'll find me, especially doing bookish content. I'm nowhere else on the internet. You could follow my OnlyFans. Yeah, no, that doesn't exist. Number 9 is to shout out some awesome POC creators. So the first person that comes to mind, obviously, is Marissa, the person who tagged me, who is fantastic. She reads a lot of Asian literature, particularly East Asian literature. So if you want to read, if you want to get more recommendations for that, definitely go check out her channel. But I've been following her for a long time. I've been watching her videos for a long time. She's been on here. She's a BookTube oldie, okay? She's a classic. She's been on here for quite some time and she's given me wonderful recommendations over the years. So please definitely go over and check out Marissa. I'd also like to shout out Jerry from Onyx Pages, my love. I love her so much. She reads predominantly and almost exclusively Afrofuturistic work. So basically black SFF, science fiction, fantasy novels. She reads almost exclusively that, which I think is so cool. And as somebody who also kind of resists, I mean, I don't read as specific as in Jerry, but I do read like almost exclusively authors of color in general, or black and brown authors, non-white authors, whatever terminology you prefer. I do read almost exclusively non-white authors, and I find Njeri inspiring because she kind of shows you that, you can specialize in literature and you can have a specific taste, and I love the devotion that she shows towards the genre of Afrofuturistic work, and you should definitely check her out. If she's like the best person you could check out, or one of the best people you could check out if you're looking for recommendations in that particular field of literature. Another person I'd like to shout out is none other than the iconic, the legendary Adri from Perpetual Pages. Adri's also been on BookTube for quite a long time and they are incredible. Their taste in literature is superior. They read everything. Adri reads everything, middle grade, young adult, fantasy, literary, like they read in everything. If you're looking for more recommendations also for Latinx authors, Adri is an incredible resource. I mean, this picture, they're just holding a bunch of like Latinx books, which is glorious. So please go over and subscribe to their channel. Marinez from My Name is Marinez, she's one of my favorite booktubers on this platform. I really appreciate all of her discussion videos where she talks about things that have to do with like race and diversity and stuff like that in the book community. And I get some of my best recommendations from her, so definitely check out her. And also check out finally Jessie from Both Sides and Books. My love, Jessie is amazing. They read a lot of queer LGBT fiction, especially LGBT fiction from authors of color, from black and brown authors. They had a whole video recently where they exclusively recommended books by black LGBT authors about black LGBT characters, which is incredible. So another fantastic resource and another fantastic person in the community that you absolutely should support. The final question is to tag people, and I'm just going to tag the people that I shouted out, except Marissa because she already did this, so thanks Marissa for tagging me. But everybody else who I shouted out, you're tagged. Do this if you would like to. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I have to say for this video. In the comments, I would really love to know your thoughts on any of the, well, I only mentioned 3 books in this video, but like if you have thoughts on that, or any thoughts on any of the things that I said or talked about or discussed in this video, let me know. Let's have a chat in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a lovely day, and until next time, inshallah, keep reading.